So welcome to Lab 2 in our QGIS tutorials, and in this lab we're going to look at attributes. And in any map they have different attributes or parts to the map that we're going to investigate. In order to do this, we need to follow the link in our lab. So our lab looks like our training 2 has this information on it, and it invites you to download this link. So go ahead and click on that link, and then I'm going to move that out of the way. Now it's going to take just a moment to download another big file. So if I look in my downloads, we can see that it has downloaded this file. Again, it's got that big zip on it, meaning that it's zipped. I'm going to move that into my GIS folder. Again, so I created that GIS folder specifically for my lab materials. Again, if you're using someone else's computer, you're going to put this into your thumb drive or an external drive. But I created this folder specifically for my lab materials, so I'm going to put that in there. And you can see in this folder I've got last week's materials in there and this week's, and so I need to unzip this or extract it because it's compiled. So I'm right clicking on to that file and I'm going to click extract all, and get a cough drop. And you can see once I did that, it's all there. Now I like to keep my folders clean, so now that I've got this folder extracted with no little zip line on it, I'm going to delete the one with a zip folder on it. So now I've got just two files, last week's and this week's folder. Alright, so from there we can go into QGIS. So I'm going to shrink this down, and then I'm going to go up here into my browser. And again, so this is my folder that I've got that information in. And so yours might look a little different depending on what you've named it. I'm just going to open this up. Okay. And all right, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to click on this and we're going to drag it in here. Whoa, check that out. Look at all that information. Lots of stuff to look at. So now what we can do with this is look at these individual attributes. So each one of these dots represent a populated area, so we can get information from each one of these dots. So I'm going to zoom in. This is roughly Arizona over here. Let's just select one of these. In order to do that, to select one of these, what you want to do is click on this little eye with the little button on it. You're going to click on that, and let's try one of these, and let's see where this is. This is Deming, and you can see there's a whole bunch of information tied to this. Okay, you can see it's got its lat and its latitude. It's in New Mexico. Okay, in the United States. Yeah, they usually have some population information on these types of things. Let's see if they do somewhere. X, Y, and let's move my face. And so there's population over there. Let's move over here into Arizona. Let's see what we got. Here's Wilcox, and there's Safford right there. And so we can see that according to this map, although it's probably a little out of date, there's the information. Population's only 10,000, so it's out of date. It's population of Safford is a bit higher, probably closer to 15,000. 100,000 individuals at this point. So anyway, so there that you can see that this information is all tied to this point, and we call that an attribute. Okay, so the lab then, if you're moving on to, so we did step 3, and now in step 4 we can look at all of this information in a table. Okay, and so how do we do that? We go to this thing up here. This is called an attribute table. There are 2 ways to get to this attribute table. You can click on this button up here, and when you click on it, you see what looks like a table of information. And if you get on the corner there, you can zoom it out. It looks kind of like an Excel spreadsheet. And all that information for each one of those spots all over the globe are listed in this Excel spreadsheet. Now, this attribute table makes it kind of easy to import and export Excel spreadsheets. And so if you have an Excel spreadsheet and it's got location data, you can very easily add it into a map and tie that data to each one of those points, which makes it then very useful as a map, because it's got a whole bunch of freaking data added to it. You can add pictures to it, you can add links. This is kind of how Google Earth or Google Maps or Apple Maps works. It adds all of that information into these types of tables and makes it so that you can utilize them on your iPhone. And so this is how they got started with all of that. The other way you can access the table besides this is just to go over here to your layer. You can move over. You can see that your layer is listed there. You can right click on that and go to Open Attribute Table. And to be honest, that's the way I usually do it, and I don't know why that's the way I do it, but that's the way I've always done it. I guess it would be easier just to click up here, but that is the 2 ways to access your attribute table. Now let's say you would like to find the cities that have a max population that is greater than 1 million people. Well, you can figure that out using this this thing here. So what we're going to do is we are going to open up our attribute table again. So we've got our attribute table, and we're going to click on this thing. This little E stands for equation, and so we're going to ask it a question. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to type in pop max, and once you start typing, the options start to pop up there, and so we want pop max. Okay, and I'm going to just put parentheses on either side of that, and I want them to be greater than, oops, you got to put in a space, greater than 100, 1 million. So 6 zeros. All right. Okay, so once you've done that, so this is in step 7, you're going to click on Select Features. So what happened here? Well, I'm just going to get out of this for a second. So I'm going to close and remove this. And you can kind of see. Now this reds, I selected Safford, and so that's why it's still outlined. But we can click off of that and it will no longer be outlined. You will now see different colors for some of these other dots. And see, these other dots have been selected because they have populations of greater than 1 million. So let's click on this, see who that is. This is, let's just slide this over. You can see that this is Mesa, and I'm guessing this is going to be Phoenix, Scottsdale, and Glendale. I'm too close. I need to zoom in. There we go. There's Phoenix. And so you can see that we've selected all of the cities. So let's zoom out and see if we can see the whole United States. You can see all of the cities are yellow. The color that it is depends. It's kind of random. Yours may not be yellow. It may be red or green or something else. It's just the computer automatically generates a color based on your system. So don't feel bad if it's not yellow like it is in mine. Okay, so all right, so that was now if we go back to the attribute table, and we can do something else here. You see this line up here? If you click on that, we don't want that. What we want is to invert. No, we don't want it. If you want to invert selection will reverse it. It will change it so that everyone less than 100,000 is outlined. So if I click on that, you can see what happens. Yeah. So now everyone less than 100,000 is selected. But what I want to do is I want to just filter. No. All right, so I went back into our equation button. I clicked on this, and now we're still looking at the same thing. In our instructions, looks just a tad different. It says zoom to features next to it, but we're going to just click on this down arrow, and we're going to filter out current selection. Okay, I'm going to close that for a second. I'm going to close that, go back into my attribute table. Oops, I don't want to see it that way. I want to see my table. I don't want, and I've changed the image. Oh, there it is, right there. So I can go back and forth here. So I can see my table. These are the ones that are selected. Now that I have filtered to that, it's just looking at those that have over 1 million on them. Okay, all right. Just a little extra there. You don't have to do that. Anyway, so we've in our lab manual, so on steps 9 we selected all of those, so all of those yellow dots are there. We inverted the selection. We selected by expression. Now we can add to that expression. So this one says in this expression, the field containing capitals, we want to look for capitals. So admin O cap is the command to look for, and the value indicating 1 is what we're going to do. So we're just going to take this expression. I'm going to copy it, so Control C, and I'm going to go back to our thing. I'm going to open up our attribute table, and I'm going to click on our expression up here, and I'm going to just paste in that expression, and I'm going to click select features. Okay. Now all of those that are capitals should now be outlined on our table, and we should see them here. And so we've got yellow, 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 yellow. So that'd be Washington D.C. That's, what is that? Montreal, or oh, I selected the wrong one. Let me zoom in. Oh, Ottawa. Ottawa is the capital of Canada. So you can see we've got all of those capitals now outlined. So if we go back to our instructions here, we did that. We selected those